Thank you for joining us today for the virtual public meeting in regard to Section 1009, the Lake Bistineau Land Title Stability of Public Law 116-9. Before we start our meeting, I'd like to provide some information about the Bureau of Land Management, just in case you are not familiar with us. Bureau of Land Management manages more than 245 million acres of public land located primarily in western states, including Alaska. It also administers 700 million acres of subsurface mineral estate throughout our nation. In fiscal year 2018, the diverse activities authorized on BLM managed lands generated $105 billion in economic output across the country, which supported 471,000 jobs. The BLM Eastern States is a state office of the Bureau of Land Management, which has 12 state offices in total. The BLM Eastern States State Office manages more than 40,000 acres of public land and 39 million acres of subsurface mineral estate in the 31 states east of and adjoining the Mississippi River, including Louisiana. The BLM Eastern States Office is located in the Falls Church, Virginia. We have two districts, one in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the Northeastern States District, and one in Flowood, Mississippi, the Southeastern States District, which handles the state of Louisiana as well. This is the agenda that we'll be covering today. Art provided the welcome and the overview. He will remind us when it comes to our question and answer periods, how to present certain questions. I'll conduct introductions, and then our state director, Mr. Mitchell Leverette, will provide comments, opening comments. We'll have three segments in today's virtual public meeting. The first segment is the Lake Bistineau Land Title Stability background and map presentation by Diann Rasmussen. That will be followed by a 15-minute question and answer period. The second segment, you'll hear a video, or you'll see a video if you're watching us, on how to fill out Claim Form 2540-1, and that will be followed by a 15-minute question and answer period. The third segment, you'll see the second half of that video, how to fill out Claim Form 2540-2, and we'll follow that up with 15 minutes of questions and answers. Then I'll discuss the claim submission instructions and time frame, and then we'll pass it back to Mitch Leverette, who is our state director, for concluding remarks. And with that, I'd like to do some introductions. You will see Diann Rasmussen, who is our lead realty specialist for BLM Eastern States in segment 1. You will hear Ashley Muriel, our public affairs specialist for BLM Eastern States. She is the voice behind the video. And we have Withers with us today. He is the district manager of the Southeastern States District Office, again in Flowood, Mississippi. Leah Baker, our associate state director for BLM Eastern States. And Mitchell Leverette, our state director for BLM Eastern States. And with that, I would like to pass it to Mitch Leverette for opening remarks. I do believe that we have Senator Cassidy in attendance. I'm not quite sure if Congressman Johnson phoned in, but Mitch, you have it.
Thank you, Francis. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. It's great being here with you today. In March 2019, the John Dingell Conservation Management and Recreation Act was passed, Public Law 116-9, and Section 1009 of the Act, entitled the Lake Bistineau Land Title Stability, was assigned, Eastern States was assigned responsibility for implementation of this act from the Department of the Interior. As State Director of Eastern States, I'm very pleased to report that my office will be working with you to submit a claim to clear title on your property. At this point, we've identified lands that are to be conveyed in accordance with Section 1009. Today, we'll present the background and map to those lands. The objective of today's meeting is to inform you on the procedures in filling out the required forms, how and where to submit those forms, and the projected timelines involved. My guidance to the team is to be approachable and available to you throughout this process. Today, I'm also pleased to announce that Senator Cassidy is with us. So again, thank you very much for being with us. It is my honor to pass the microphone to Senator Cassidy.
Hey, everybody. I apologize for not being on either a Zoom, but I'm on my phone with limited access to video, so I'm doing it this way. I thank you all for being on. I thank BLM. Let me just give my overview. It'll take about 4 minutes, and then I'll just pass it back to BLM. Again, Congressman Johnson and I have been engaged on this in several years, and now we have your state senator and your state rep involved, and I think we've come to a good solution. But let me just say we're here to help and work with BLM to make sure that all obligations are fulfilled. Let me just say how we got here. It started with a dispute over lands which were omitted from a public land survey around Lake Bistineau going back to 1960. The BLM had a claim to land, but the state of Louisiana had no record of that claim. So that's why when you ran a property title, when you bought your property, this issue didn't show up. But when BLM's federal claim became evident, it meant that all titles encompassing 200 acres were clouded. Now, our goal, Johnson and I started to work on this, was to restore certainty for the home and landowners around Lake Bistineau. And he and I put together legislation, which we passed, to address this. And now BLM is implementing that instruction, that legislation that Johnson and Cassidy worked on. This is why you receive letters from BLM to fill out the color of title applications, and why BLM is hosting this call to walk you through that application and answer questions. You gotta do the application. We've worked really hard to clear this up. If your neighbor's not on the call, let your neighbor know they need to watch the video, they need to do it. By the way, thanks to Senator Mills and your state representative McMahon, they've led efforts in Baton Rouge, so the state will absorb whatever additional costs there are, and you won't be charged anything. A real shout out to those two guys. And let me just say one more thing. BLM is not, NOT, is not trying to take land, home, or properties, but your participation is essential. The applications will help confirm title, and as part of the process, Congress, the legislation Mike and I did, instructed BLM to fulfill. Now, be online with BLM. Again, I thank them for being there. Ask all your questions, and if somebody's not on this call, be a good neighbor. Let them know they need to log on, see the video, fill out their application. We've worked really hard so there will not be a cloud over this title. We're trying to restore certainty to all. So just do a favor to your neighbor and ask him to join on. BLM, I'll turn it back to you, and thank you all.
Senator Cassidy, thank you so much, sir. We do appreciate your comments. Do we have Congressman Johnson on the line?
I'm told he won't be. He just cannot come today.
Thank you so much, sir. We do appreciate your comments, and we look forward to working with the people in Lake Bistineau, Louisiana, to clear their titles to their lands. Thank you so much, sir. With that, we will go into the first segment, the Lake Bistineau Land Title Stability background and map presentation. And to do that, again, is Diann Rasmussen, who is our lead realty specialist for BLM Eastern States. Diann, you've got it.
Thank you, Francis. And good afternoon, everyone. We're going to have some maps coming up here. Throughout this presentation, I'll be referring to Public Law 116-9, the John D. Dingell Jr. Conservation Management Recreation Act. Big long name, call it.
May I interrupt you real quick, because I neglected to tell everyone who's on the telephone that what they cannot see during this particular virtual public meeting, they could follow up and go to our website and see everything that we're talking about. And at the end of the meeting, we'll provide them that address. So I do apologize for interrupting, Diann. Please go ahead.
That's a good point, Francis, is that we do have people who are just on the phone. So I apologize that you don't have these maps. And we'll provide the website so you can go on the internet and see those. If you do not have internet, please give me a call. You should have my number, and it will be coming up also. So I'll go on.
Real quickly, Diann, I just want to say that Jasmine should be able to share her screen now. I
Okay.
think we had a little minor challenge. So Jasmine, if you could go ahead and share your screen, please. And if you're having a problem, just jump on those, open up your microphone so we can, there you go. Okay, we can see it now. Okay, so with that, Diann, I'll turn it over to you, okay?
Okay, great. So we called that Public Law 116-9, short form, the Dingell Act. So the land included in Section 1009 of the Dingell Act is approximately 20 miles southeast of Shreveport, along the shores of Lake Bistineau. I'm sure you all know this, but we wanted to make sure that if there's anyone on who does not know exactly where Lake Bistineau is, you've got an idea. So an original survey of the area was conducted in 1838. The survey included an area covering approximately 36 square miles. Our focus is on Section 30, where most of the land included in Section 1009 of the Dingell Act is located. You can see on this, it's very angular on this survey. So the land was omitted from the original 1838 survey due to the Great Raft on the Red River. The Great Raft was an extremely large temporary log dam, which backed up the breakup of the Great Raft, uncovered formerly inundated lands. In 1967, the Bureau of Land Management completed a resurvey and extension survey of the land bordering Lake Bistineau in Section 30. We call it the 1969 survey because at that time, that's when the approval was for that survey. We actually have to approve, all surveys are approved. So I want to, can you go back, Jasmine, please? Thank you. So the mean high water level of Lake Bistineau in 1812 was established at 148.6 feet. And that was established prior to this survey. The 1967 survey determined that a considerable area of land, approximately 230 acres, was erroneously omitted in the original survey. As title to the omitted land had never passed from the federal government, they were determined to be public domain. However, in 1901, the state of Louisiana, in a conveyance of land to the Bossier Levee Board, included those omitted lands. The land was subsequently sold, subdivided, and resold. The state of Louisiana maintains a position that they were correct in determining it was state land and in issuing title to the levee board. The state transfer created a title conflict, resulting in a cloud on the current titles. As Senator Cassidy talked about, March 2019, Congress passed the Dingell Act, which included Section 1009, titled Lake Bistineau Land Title Stability. This section is specifically for resolution of the title conflict to those omitted lands as shown on this January 30th, 2018 map. Under Section 1009, the Secretary of the Interior, through the Bureau of Land Management, is required to convey the lands and minerals to claimants who have held the land in good faith and peaceful adverse possession. cadastral surveyor from the Bureau of Land Management has worked on a map which depicts the individual parcels of land as identified in the Bossier Parish Tax Assessor database and tax maps, which are included in the identified omitted lands. This map includes the 6-digit tax assessment number assigned by Bossier Parish Tax Assessor. The tax assessment number can be used for the legal description on your claim form. These maps are available for review on the Bureau of Land Management Eastern States website. Back to you, Francis.
Diann, thank you so much for that presentation. I greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure the folks on the phone appreciate it. With that, we could open it up for a 15-minute question and answer period for anyone who would like to ask a question, and we will do our best to answer that for you. Art, can you remind folks how to do so?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I've mentioned in the chat, there is a Q&A button for those that are on the platform, and you can click on that to ask questions through text. Also, anybody that's on the platform has a raise hand feature, and they can raise their hand, and then we'll see them come to the top of the screen, and we can call on them in the order that they raise their hand. And for those 7 individuals that are on and are listening on the phone, all you have to do is hit *9 if you have a verbal question. We will be notified that you want to ask a question, and we will open up your phone line so that we can hear you to have you ask the question. So again, for those on the phone, it's *9. And then for anybody else that's on the platform, there's a raise hand button that's available on your screen that you can click on. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Francis.
Thank you very much, Art. I do appreciate that. And let's just see if we have any questions. I do not see any questions at this point in time, or people requesting to ask anything. We'll wait a few minutes. So again, for the folks on the telephone, if you'd like to ask a question about the map presentation and the background for the issue we're speaking about today, you're more than welcome to ask a question. I could tell you before we get some questions, the map that Diann Rasmussen was speaking to will specifically help you file your claims, both of the forms. I think we do have a question somewhere, Art. Can we get to that person?
Yeah, so the first person that raised their hand is Richard. I don't know his last name, but I'm going to allow him to talk right now. So you can unmute yourself, Richard, and then you can ask the question to Francis. There should be a microphone on your screen right now. Just go ahead and click that, and it will unmute for you. And I'm gonna ask you to unmute again, so you can click on that, Richard. There you go. Do you hear us now, Richard? Go ahead and talk to us. We see that your microphone's unmuted, but we can't hear you for some reason. So there might be another program that's blocking your microphone from being used that you have on your computer. So we're sorry about that. We're going to go to the next person, which is a phone number. And then Richard, we will have somebody chat at you to help solve this problem. So I'm going to mute you. And then this next person, your number ends in 7572. So can you hear us, sir? Whoever your number is?
Yes,
7572?
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
My question is, on the application, this is kind of a general question, but since we've already started with the first part of the application, if an owner has surface and mineral interest, say they purchased their land, had 20 acres, but then they sold 5 acres and reserved the minerals, so then they have essentially 2 different tracts there, 2 different ownerships. Do we do 2 different applications, one for the severed mineral estate and the other one for the tract that has both?
Sir, that is a very good question. And I think you probably, by asking that, we're thinking in terms of ask that same question. With that, however, I'd like to pass it off to Diann Rasmussen for a response regarding claim filing. Can you answer that for us, Diann?
I sure can. So you can file just one claim. Do make sure that you identify each one of those parcels and that specifically on the parcel that you've kept the minerals, that you say you've got only the minerals on it. Okay?
Okay, and hey, Diann, can y'all still hear
Yes.
me?
Yes.
Okay. And so obviously the title change are going to be slightly different. Can we just file attachments with the application and just detail, because all this is not going to fit into the
Right.
populated areas on the.
Yes, you can just add a piece of paper to it that details all of that out.
Sir, did you hear that?
Yes, I'm good for now. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Yes. Well, thank you so much for your question. And again, for the other folks on the telephone, filling out the forms are the way to go. And if there's additional information that you would like to submit with that, please include that with those forms. Or do you have more questions?
Well, I'm going to see if we can get Richard to talk to us again. I'm going to mute the other gentleman, and I'm going to open up his mic. And then let's see here. I've asked him to unmute again, so we'll see if that works for Richard. Can you hear us now? So we can't hear you, unfortunately, Richard, but your microphone is unmuted. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have one of our Zoom text card. He's going to text you some information about how you can dial in, and that way you can join and raise your hand at that point in time. So we'll get to your question as soon as we can, and we apologize for the challenge with the platform today. So with that, Francis, we'll turn it back over to you to continue, and we'll get to Richard as soon as we can, okay?
Okay, Art, thank you. We just went over 5 minutes. We have at least 10 minutes for questions if anyone else has any more questions on this first segment. Or questions in general on submitting your claim. Diann Rasmussen is our subject matter expert on this particular issue. And so if you have any questions.
Well, it looks like we have another person that I'm
Okay.
going to go ahead and open their mic. It looks like it might be Mr. Lampkin, but I'm going to allow that person to talk now. You can go ahead and unmute your device there and go ahead and talk to us, please. Can you hear us, Mr. Lampkin or Ms. Lampkin? So we are not hearing them either at this point. So you might have another device that's already, you might have another platform that's loaded that is not allowing us to hear you at this point. Go ahead and go talk to us again, please, if you can. I hear something in the background if you can talk to us. I hear an open microphone. You may have a closed you might have a closed computer, and maybe your microphone is covered by that. I'm not sure, but there is some dial-in information that we'll get to you, and then you can join at that point in time. I'm sorry for the challenges here, but we'll get to you as soon as we can. So we'll just have to keep the Q&A open a little bit longer, Francis. Okay?
Yeah, that's fine, Art. And it's unfortunate we can't get that question from that gentleman, but we will have contact information provided at the end of this particular virtual public meeting, in which he could follow up directly with Diann, or he could send an email to an organizational mailbox, but we'll certainly get him the answer. Okay, I do not see any other questions. Art, do you see any more questions?
I do not at this point in time. So I'm sorry, we will get to your question as soon as we can. We are going to get the 833 number to you so that you can dial in. And then we'll take your questions on the phone, and you'll be able to select by going *9. So as soon as we get to that, we will be able to answer your questions. So I think we should probably move on, and then we'll get that we'll get that 833 number to anybody that's having technical problems with their platform, and we'll go from there. Okay, Francis?
Well, thank you, Art. No worries. So the next segment, in fact, the next two segments are actually how to fill out the required forms that you will submit to us. And I think once you hear the video, and for the folks online with us, when you see the video, may answer a couple questions that you may have had. So, but if it doesn't, again, we will follow up at the end of this with our contact information. With that, I'd like to go to segment 2, which is a video, how to fill out claim form 2540-1. Ashley, can you put up that video? Thank you.
Before filing claim application for Lake Bistineau Land Title Stability patent, there are some questions that need to be answered and documents that will help when completing the form. Is my land shown within the omitted area of the map? If the land or a portion of the land is within the omitted area, did I inherit the land or an interest in the land? Or did I buy the land or an interest in the land? Or was the land or an interest in the land given to me? To assist with completing the form, have the following documents available: a copy of the deed, will, court ordered granting ownership, property tax information. Filling out the form. Start with Form 2540-1. Block 1. Need the applicant's legal name, BLM. BLM will use the name when issuing the patent. If there is more than one applicant for a parcel, please use additional sheets. Block 2. The address needed is the applicant's mailing address. If there is more than one applicant for the parcel, include this on the additional sheet. Block 3. A phone number will be used to contact applicants when there is a need to clarify information provided in the application. If a phone number is not provided, BLM will correspond through mail when there is a need to clarify information provided in the application. Block 4 is partially filled in. Under subdivision, provide tax lot number. This information is found in the Bossier Parish property tax information. Block 5. Skip. Block 6. Check the yes or no box. Provide additional information when checking the no box. Block 7. List the type of documents you believe gave you ownership. Block 8. When did you learn that you did not have clear title to the land? Block 9. How did you find out that you did not have a clear title to the land? Block 10A. Check the yes or no box. If marked yes, complete block 10B through 10E. Block 11A through 16A, skip. A signature is required for each applicant to finish the form. This can be done as follows: by filling out the date, printing the form out, and signing, or by printing out the form, dating, and signing, or when using a hard copy of the form, by dating and signing. An applicant who is listed on an additional sheet must sign their information on the additional sheet. Next is Form 2540-2.
Okay, so that was segment 2, the how to fill out claim form 2540-1. I could open it up now for questions. If anyone has questions, we have at least 15 minutes for that. I did note, Art, by the way, that in the chat, I do see a question or two that I may have come in after the first segment.
Yeah, if you want to, while we're waiting for people to ask questions, again, *9 if you're on the phone, and then also there is that raise hand feature if you're on the platform. We have put the dial-in number for those that were having challenges with their audio. Can I just restate what that is for people if they want to?
Please do, Art, yes. Thank you
Sure.
very much.
Yeah, that number is 833-568-8255. 8864. So again, that's 833-568-8864. And then the webinar ID is 161-854-3196. So again, that webinar ID is 161-854-3196. So anybody that's having challenges raising their hand through the platform can dial those numbers, get in, and then we can have them speak. And we do have a question that just popped up now from Lane Knott. So I'm going to allow that person to speak. And
Okay, Art, thank you.
Yep, and we'll go ahead and you can unmute yourself, and then we can take your question. You have a microphone now that you can unmute. Lane, should be an icon on your screen that you can click on. And I'll ask you to unmute again. So there you go. Go ahead and there you are. Can we hear? Can you talk to us, please? So we are not hearing you either at this point. If you're talking to us, so I don't know. Maybe there's a platform issue going on that I'm not aware of. But that's the third person that's been having the same challenges because I can't hear him. You can't hear him either, right, Francis? Is that correct?
No, I do not. I don't hear
Yeah.
anyone.
So I do know that since the senator called in on the phone, that we know that the phone number is working properly, and I apologize for this. I don't know if there's a problem with the Zoom platform today, but we haven't had a problem with all of our other panelists. So, but I will say that, again, the best way to contact us at this point, if you do want to ask a question verbally, would be to use the phone number that I provided. And again, I'm going to restate that. It's 833-568-8864. And then the webinar ID is 161-854-3196. And so if anybody wants to dial in on that, we will see them dial in and we'll be able to have them raise their hand by hitting *9, and we'll be able to get their question answered. And we do have somebody that's dialed in. I'm going to go ahead and allow that person. I think it's the one person that asked before, 7572. So here we go. You're allowed to talk. Go ahead, caller.
All right, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's the same one from the previous question. While we were waiting on everybody to kind of being able to ask questions, I thought I would ask what type of timeline, if you submit an application and everything is accurate, what type of timeline are we looking at to completion for the owner?
That's a very good question. Let me just hit the first part of that, and then I'll throw it over to Diann for the second part. We would like to see all the claims submitted to us no later than December 31st of this year. And then Diann, can you hit the second part of that as far as the timeline involved after we receive the claims?
Yes, Francis. So because of the way the act was written, we actually have to receive the payment from the state of Louisiana before we can issue the patents. However, we have all of the paperwork ready to issue those patents the minute we've got the money from the state of Louisiana. So that being said, ideally, we would like to have all of the patents issued by the end of next year. So by the end of December 2021.
I had a follow-up question to that. Can y'all still hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. So at the beginning of the call, y'all talked about it being a cloud on, or one of the speakers talked about it being cloud on title, and we're talking about possibly end of 2021 is having them all done. Is there anything that the BLM can provide in the interim to an owner if this during this waiting process that would kind of address that cloud for a third party?
So you're talking in case you're selling your land, right?
That would be one scenario, but at
Right.
the same time, I'm just saying if there's something we could bridge that gap.
Right. There's actually nothing that will bridge that gap except for the patent.
I understand that as far as technically and legally. I was thinking that if if this was something that could provide a third-party assurances that the only thing that the BLM is waiting on is some type of, funding back and forth with the state,
Right.
then could the BLM issue a letter to that effect to say that there is nothing stopping us but for this? The application, everything's in order, I guess, would be some type of assurance by letter on that.
So that would be not a typical thing. I would need to run that by our solicitors on what we could possibly do. So
Well,
I think that's,
can we
you
get
brought
back
up,
to you on that?
yeah,
that would be
that's a very
fine.
good, it's a very good question, sir. And I think what we'll do is we'll take that back to us and we'll approach our solicitors to see if it's legally sufficient in what we'll do to perhaps address that particular question and that particular issue that you're alluding to.
And I wasn't even thinking about selling, but y'all bring up a good point when you brought up selling. Do you anticipate anybody can go through that transaction between now and the patent issuance?
Yes, actually that can go through. Owners have been selling their land. It's a matter of when it comes to issuing the patent, it will be to the current landowner.
Okay.
Okay.
And my final question, because I have to step off here in just a minute, but you said you wanted all the applications in by the end of this year, possibly.
Yes.
If there are owners that perhaps did not, for whatever reason, did not get notice, which I know may be difficult, but didn't get notice this time, or owners that just didn't get the application in, under the law, I don't see a sunset on this. Are they able to still get the relief 2 years from now, 3 years from now?
They are. The problem, we'll actually be looking to try to get everybody's done at one time. Just for the simple reason that because of the way the law reads, the interpretation is that we can't issue any patents until the state pays for all of the administrative costs. So we want to have all of the patents ready when we receive that payment from the state.
Thank you, Diann. And
Okay,
yes,
so-
if I could just add on to that, it is our objective to have all the claims submitted prior to December 31st of this year. However, if there are some landowners who have not submitted it by then, they're certainly not ruled out in this process, if that's the question. Yes, so we'll be working with everyone on record who's a parcel owner to make sure that they submit the claim, these two forms, so we could clear title to their land.
Thank y'all.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you for your questions. Very good questions, by the way. Let me go back through the chat here real quick, Art. I did see a couple questions that were chatted in, and we did respond to them, but I don't think the folks on the phone would see these. So
yeah, that'd be great.
I think we may have addressed this one. The question is who pays, basically, and it's not the claimant. So for the folks on the telephone, if you are a claimant seeking clear title to your land, you are not paying the BLM for anything. The compensation for the parcels is basically, again, as Diann had referenced, through the legislation, the state of Louisiana is reimbursing the Bureau of Land Management, Department of Interior for any cost incurred on our work to clear title to your land. So I hope that answers that question for everyone. And then we also had the question which was answered on the chat. Where do I get the application? Well, a couple ways for that. You should have received a letter from the Bureau of Land Management. We went to the Bossier Parish records for the current owner on record, and we mailed those forms out to that particular address. However, if you didn't, no worries. Again, when we finish this up, we'll have contact information provided where you can contact us via telephone, via email, or you could download the forms that are on our website, and we'll get those to you at the end of this particular virtual public meeting. Art, do we have any more questions from the phone?
No, we don't, but I do want to do just a quick test while we have a second here. I'm going to open up Blake Schindler's microphone, and I just want to see if that person is able to unmute and talk to us. Can you talk to us, Blake?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can. So thank you for doing a test with us. So we know the platform is working. So it might just be some individuals that are having a challenge with their computers, and we've gone with the phone option for those people to dial in if they need to. But thanks for doing that test with us,
No
Blake.
problem. Mr. Ferrero, can I make one point for folks listening? I'm with Senator Cassidy's staff, and the BLM has touched on the financial obligation that the state has to fulfill. And Senator Cassidy mentioned the work that Senator Mills and Representative Mahan have taken on in Baton Rouge. The state has already obligated half of the funds for the administration of what BLM is exercising, and the other half of those funds will be made available to BLM during the next legislative session. So I just want to make sure folks know that while we go through this.
Okay. Well, no, thanks for that point of clarification. I do appreciate it. And thanks for doing that test for us too,
No problem.
Mr.
Yes.
Schindler. Appreciate it. Okay. So
Yes,
thank you.
many thanks.
Yep.
So Art, I'd like to go back through the chat as we wait on another question from the phoners. We did have a question about once the landowner has received the patent on their land, does this clear the cloud on the title? And the response is, of course, yes, it will. It will clear that title. Does the application need to be filed by each owner of an undivided interest or one application for all owners? Diann, can you clarify that response? We said either way, but can you clarify that for us?
Sorry about that. Yes, I can. So it really does depend on if you know everyone. So if it's through inheritance, you may have just a partial interest in. So if everyone finds that the application, that's perfectly fine. Oftentimes individuals will want to put in their own application. What we do then is we issue a patent for their interest. Husband and wife or partners who co-own a parcel can be in on the same application. And we would issue one patent for both. So we've got multiple ways of issuing patents for this. And we'll work with everyone. Okay.
Thank you very much for clarifying that, Diann, for us. I do have another one if you don't mind staying on. So the question is buying title insurance at time of mortgage mean that you had the title searched? Clarify that for us.
So if you bought title insurance at the time you purchased the property, typically there has been a title search done. So what I am hearing from people I've been talking with in that area, the title companies are not recognizing that the omitted lands are still public lands. So we want to make sure that if you've gotten a title insurance, that is the title search that's been done. So you can go back to that title company and have them fill out the second form, the 2540-2, and fill their information in out on the 2540-1. Okay.
Thank you very much, Diann, for clarifying that for us. I think that was a great question. All these questions absolutely are great.
Yeah.
Do we have anyone on the phone? I do not see a phone.
No, we don't. And again, just a reminder, *9 if you are on the phone and you would like to raise your hand. That will notify us if you're on the phone that you want to ask a question, and we will respond to that very quickly. And then if you're having technical problems, like I know there were a couple of individuals, you can dial into that 833-568-8864 number that we've put in the chat. And then we will, and then put in the webinar ID that's been in the chat, and then we'll be able to get to you through the phone line. So again, *9 one last time. If you have any questions, we'd like to answer them as quickly as we can. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Francis.
Thank you very much, Art. And what I'd like to do, I have 2 or 3 other questions that were chatted in. These will all go to Diann. And then after Diann answers these, we'll go ahead and begin with segment 3, how to fill out claim form 2540-2.
I will say we do have 2 phone callers now, so they may be the
Oh, we do?
individuals who are having
Okay, well, I'll tell you
challenges.
what, I'll come back to the chat line. Let's go to the phone.
Okay, so the first one we're going to open up is the last 4 digits are 2049. So go ahead, caller. You're unmuted.
Yeah, husband and wife acquired the property, and then one of them has since passed away. Do both of their names go on the application, or just the one that's living?
So in that case, if you have not gone through the courts for succession and the property is still listed in both names will go on the patent. What we will need is a copy of the will.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, caller. Appreciate that. And our next caller, last 4 digits are 8350. So go ahead, caller. Last 4 digits, 8350.
Hi, thanks for having us on here. The documentation that's to be provided in this, is it to be certified by the clerk of court? And how far back does it have to go?
All right. So, and that
Does it go back to 1901? I guess is my question. Do we have to have everything from 1901 when the state of Louisiana conveyed it to Bossier Parish up to the current date, or?
No, if you go back 20 years, that should cover us just fine. So, okay. And that actually speaks to one of the questions that we had on the chat regarding how far back must the documentation go. Okay.
Okay.
Now,
sounds good then.
Documentation that you provide us does not need to be certified. Okay, so if you have a copy of your deed sitting in your paperwork at home, just make a copy of that and send it in with your paperwork, okay?
Okay. We can make that work. Thank you.
Okay. You're
Thank
welcome.
you, caller. Appreciate it. Okay, so Francis, that's all the questions we have right now.
Okay.
So if you want to continue on, you're welcome to do that.
Yeah, I think we'll come back to the chat because there's a few questions in there, but I'd like to go to the next segment, which is the second part of the video, how to fill out claim form 2540-2. So Ashley, can you work your magic and get that up on the screen for us?
Next is Form 2540-2. This form can be either filled out by the applicant or by the party shown in Block 10B through 10E on Form 2540-1. Applicant's last name or names must be included in this form and match the last names provided on the previous form. The legal description of land claimed is partially filled in. Under subdivision, provide the Bossier Parish tax lot number. Next, list the document granting ownership. To assist with the processing, the documents should be in date order, either from most recent to oldest or from oldest to most recent. When there are not enough lines on one page, an additional page can be completed. Please number the pages. The form can be finished by certifying the research completed on the parcel land, by filling in the address, title, and date, printing the form out, signing and printing signer's name, or by printing the form out, filling the address, date, title, signing and printing signer's name, or when using a hard copy of the form by filing the address, title, date, signing and printing the signer's name. If you need additional assistance, please email
Thank you very much for that, Ashley. And then we'll open it up for questions and answers. And Art, please remind us how to do that.
Absolutely, yeah. So again, *9 if you're on the phone, one of our 8 callers that are on the phone, or there is a raise hand feature, a button at the bottom of your screen, or on your screen if you touch it or swipe it. And you can just click on that, and then we will hopefully be able to hear you through audio if you're on the platform. So either way, you're welcome to ask questions. And I think there were some other chat questions you wanted to get to, Francis. Is that correct? While we're waiting for live questions to come in?
Yeah, that would be perfect, Art. Yeah, just let me know when we get a phoner. I did have a question about mineral interest. And so per section 1009, the Secretary of the Department of the Interior shall convey to the claimant the omitted land, including any mineral interest. So that's in the legislation itself. So I think that answers that question. Does mineral estate convey with the property? And the answer is yes. Let me go back to the chat here. Let's see. It looks like Diann had just answered 2 of these questions. But one, do they need to send a copy of their mortgage? And I do believe the answer is no, but I will defer to Diann, our subject matter expert.
All right, so please do not send a copy of your mortgage. Your mortgage actually is not a legal document as far as the deeds go. And that's what we're going to need is a will, a deed, something that says that you have title to the document, to the land, okay? So please do not send a copy of your mortgage.
Thank you for that, Diann. Any phoners here, Art? Thank you, Ryan. Mute.
It happens to everybody, right?
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does.
Yeah, we don't have any other raised
Okay.
hands at this point in time, but I'd like to remind everybody, if you do want to ask a question and you're having a problem with the platform, the number to call is 833-568-8864. And that's in the chat. And then the webinar ID number is 161-854-3196. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Francis.
Thanks, Art. And until we get another question here, I think I could fill some space. What should a claimant include in their claim? A claimant must include, at a minimum, the following items in their claim: a completed color of title application, Form 2540-1, and conveyances affecting color or claim of title, Form 2540-2. Those are required, those 2 forms. And again, we have those on our website. The legal name or names of all the claimants to the parcel being applied for. The Bossier Parish Tax Assessor number for the legal description of the portion of omitted land. All land title documents for the past 20 years, as Diann mentioned before, for the parcel being applied for, or succession documentation if the land or interest in the land was inherited. And finally, and very importantly, signatures by all claimants of the parcel being applied for.
So we still don't have any questions that have come in besides the ones that are in the Q&A, so just know that.
So here's a good question for Diann, and it just goes back to what I was just reading, but it's a good point of clarification. Does one need all the documentation, deed, will, and property tax information, or will only one document be sufficient?
So if the deed is only in the parties that are applying for the patent or making the claim, and there's no need for a will because all of the parties are alive, then we only need the deed. The only reason that you need the tax information is for that ID number. We don't need a copy of your tax information. It's to identify the tax ID number, because we wanted to make it very easy for all of the claimants. Otherwise, some of the legal descriptions get pretty darn long, and it would be really hard to fill out the paperwork. So we wanted to make it as easy as possible. If the parties that are named in the deed, one or more have passed on, then we will need their wills. That's because we need to know who to make the patent out to or patents out to. Okay?
Thank you for that, Diann. We appreciate that. It's absolutely great clarification. So I think the chat line, the chat questions, we've answered all of them. Very good questions, by the way. Art, do we have any phoners?
No, no phone questions at this point. So we do have 7 callers still listening in, but nobody's raised their hand by hitting *9. You can, if you have another question. We do have a great panel of people and specialists standing by to answer any questions you have, because we want to help you with this process as best we can. So please feel free to take this time if you have any other questions, and reach out to us however you can. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Francis. And and just so you know, we're coming up on the top of the hour at this point in time. So we're 1 hour into the meeting at this point.
Yeah, I think we'll just move on to the next topic on the agenda, which is the claim submission instructions in the time frame. As I mentioned before, we, the Bureau of Land Management, Eastern States, prefer to have the claims submitted no later than December 31st of this year. Our goal is to issue all those patents as soon as the state of Louisiana reimburses the BLM for the costs that we incur in accordance with Section 1009 of Public Law 116-9. And as you've heard from Mr. Schindler earlier, the state of Louisiana is certainly leaning forward into appropriating funds for just this particular purpose. So with that, can we bring up the contact information slide?
And Jasmine should be able to share that slide with us, I believe.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so go to the contact information, slide 3 on that. Perfect, right there, yes. Okay, so Diann Rasmussen, who you've heard from today, again, she's our subject matter expert, and she is your point of contact. She is leading a lot of very dedicated folks in solving this particular problem for everyone involved here today. She can be reached at an email address. I'll say it phonetically: Bravo Lima Mike _ Echo Sierra _ Lima Alpha November Delta Sierra at Bravo Lima Mike .gov, G-O-V.
And Francis, we do have a caller question now, if you want to.
Okay, good. Yeah, put it on. Put it on.
Sure. And the last 4 digits are 8350. So go ahead, caller. Your mic is open.
My question is, has the BLM received any royalties from any of these subject properties over the last decade?
So that's a very good question. It's not a question I don't think we're prepared to answer today. Is that correct, Diann? So I think, Diann, do you have a response to that question?
I don't have a direct.
Yeah.
So I believe we will hold that one and get back to you.
Yeah, that'll be great. If you could, sir, if you could send that particular question to that email address that I had said before, BLM_ES_lands at BLM.gov, and we will provide it down to our Southeastern States District or our folks in the state office to research for you, and we'll get that answer to you.
Thank you.
Apologize for having that offhand.
And Francis, that was the only question that we had so far. Okay.
Okay, so Diann Rasmussen's information I provided, as well as where do I submit a claim? Well, you can send it to us via mail to 5275 Leesburg Pike, Falls Church, Virginia 22041, to the attention of Diann Rasmussen. And you could also go to our website for additional resources for this particular issue. I do have a long web address. However, if you Google BLM Eastern States Land Title Stability, that will take you directly to that particular web page. And again, that's the web page that has our point of contact information. That's the web page that has the maps that you may refer to during this process, as well as those two forms that we went over, 2540-1 and 2540-2. And there is additional information as well. The bottom line here for everyone involved, Diann and her staff, and on behalf of our state director and our associate state director for the BLM Eastern States, our goal is to make this as seamless as possible for you and to be as transparent in the process as we can and to communicate freely with you. So please don't hesitate to call us. With that, Art, do we have any phoners before I pass it to Mitch Leverette for our final comments?
No, I don't believe that we do at this point. One last opportunity for people to ask questions or raise their hand if they have anything. And with that, I will turn it back over to you, Francis. Okay.
Thank you so much, Art. Ladies and gentlemen, it was great to be with you today. It is my pleasure to introduce once again our state director, Mr. Mitchell Leverette. Mitch, you got it.
Thank you, Francis and Art, and thank all of you who have participated in the meeting today. This has been, I think, a good meeting. Hopefully you have gained and gathered information that will help you through this process. As I stated in my opening remarks, we will be with you throughout this process. Hopefully you recorded the contact information and the websites that will provide additional information on this process. And also thank Senator Cassidy and Congressman Johnson and his staff and your staff for participating today. Again, we look forward to working with you, and thanks again for taking time out on this Saturday to participate in this call. Have a great day, and look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments, Mitch. We greatly appreciate it. Art?
We don't have any more questions, but we do have a couple of questions in the Q&A tab. And if we haven't gotten to those, we have recorded them. And I just want to let those people know that we will get back to them directly if that's the case. So
Yeah.
I don't have anything else. Do you have any final thoughts, Francis, before we go?
Just based upon what you were just saying, yes. So after this, we'll review every question that came our way for the ones we did answer, maybe the one or two that we did not. Those will be uploaded to our website in the Bistineau Land Title Stability webpage. So with additional FAQs for the folks to consult. But no, that's all I have, Art. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks to everybody for joining us again today on this Saturday. We're here to help. I think that's the message that we want to convey to everybody. And if you have any questions, just remember all those different avenues to reach out to us. So with that, I'll say thank you, everybody, for joining us, and have a great rest of your Saturday.